Today's tech news moves fast, but understanding it shouldn't be hard. That's why Snarful Solutions Group brings you Connecting the Dots, where we break down what's happening in tech and why it matters to you. Now, let's dive in with your hosts.
Well, hello there, and welcome back to Connecting the Dots. We're your shortcut, really, to figuring out what's happening in tech.
That's right.
It is Wednesday, April 16th, 2025, and here at Snarful Solutions Group, we're keeping an eye on things for you. Weather-wise, it's a bit mixed.
Yeah.
You've got late season snow, maybe 4 to 8 inches, possibly hitting upstate New York, the Adirondacks.
Right. Still winter in some places.
But then you look out southwest, southern plains, totally different story. Critical fire weather. They've even got red flag warnings out.
Yeah, serious stuff there.
And quickly on the markets, seeing a bit of a dip today. The Dow is down, 0.38%? And the S&P 500, that's down 0.17%.
So a slight pullback.
Exactly. But, as part of the Snarful team, we're really here today to connect the dots on the big tech stories, see how they might, actually affect us day to day.
Absolutely. We've been digging into the reports, trying to pull out the 3 stories we think are, most significant right now. The goal is really to give you those clear insights, without all the heavy jargon.
Okay, perfect. So let's dive into story number 1. This one really feels like it could have ripples across, the whole tech landscape. Maybe even what you pay for your next phone or computer.
Definitely.
We're hearing from executives, folks inside the chip industry saying President Trump's proposed new tariffs, they could cost U.S. companies making semiconductor equipment over $1 billion a year.
Wow, $1 billion.
Yeah.
That's not small change. And these aren't just whispers, right? They're raising these concerns directly.
Exactly. And it's interesting, the scope here, it's not just computer chips.
Right.
The proposal also mentions certain pharmaceuticals.
Okay. And that's tricky because, while some drugs are made here, we get a lot from China, Ireland, India, other places too.
Yeah, so the impact isn't just isolated to tech. It could spread. Now, initially, it sounds like a pretty hard line on the tariffs. But then you start seeing maybe a little bit of wiggle room.
Oh, how so?
Well, Trump himself has hinted at potential relief for some companies. He pointed to recent exemptions for electronics imports, for example.
Okay.
It's almost like a negotiating tactic, maybe. Tough talk, but maybe exceptions are possible. He even talked about his conversations with Apple's Tim Cook.
Ah, right. I remember that.
And how he's helped them. So it suggests this flexibility, it could be applied, case by case.
Yeah, that famous quote, right? I'm a very flexible person. I don't change my mind, but I'm flexible.
Ha! Yeah, that one.
It definitely suggests, pragmatism, or at least the possibility of deals, even with a strong initial stance. And mentioning Tim Cook makes it feel, more concrete, not just theoretical relief.
Exactly. But, these kinds of shifts in trade policy, the recent ones, they can make things feel a bit shaky for businesses, can't they? Oh,
absolutely. Uncertainty is tough. When the rules might change, planning long-term investments, like the ones the administration wants to attract to the U.S., it gets difficult. Risky, even.
Yeah, nobody likes that kind of instability. It just creates doubt.
And that doubt, it ripples out, right? Businesses need predictability. Shifting trade rules make big decisions much harder. And not just for the companies directly hit by the tariffs, it affects suppliers, partners, the whole chain.
Okay, now, sticking with chips, but a specific kind. There was this situation with NVIDIA's H20 chip going to China. It took a bit of a turn.
The AI chip story, right?
Yeah. So the H20, for folks maybe not deep in AI, it's basically the most powerful AI chip U.S. companies could legally sell to China under the current rules.
A really advanced piece of tech.
And the expectation was, okay, they're probably going to tighten the rules on exporting that, put stricter controls on it.
But that's not what happened, apparently.
Well, it seems like those plans got paused. Reports suggest that after a dinner down at Mar-a-Lago, attended by NVIDIA's CEO, Jensen Huang.
Oh, interesting. High-level discussions.
The administration sort of shifted its position. It really shows how these top-level talks can directly sway tech policy, doesn't it?
It really does. And was there a reason given for the change of plans?
The word is, NVIDIA apparently promised the administration new investments in AI data centers right here in the U.S.
Okay. So a potential quid pro quo. Easing export controls in return for boosting domestic AI infrastructure.
Sounds like it, yeah. The kind of this for that deal, perhaps?
That really throws the spotlight on that tricky balance, National security driving export controls versus the economic benefits of letting U.S. firms compete globally, even in China.
Definitely.
And it shows the leverage these huge tech companies can have with their investment promises.
For sure. But not everyone's happy about this decision, letting the H-20 exports continue more freely.
No, I bet not.
We're seeing pressure from both sides of the aisle, actually. Lawmakers like Senators Warren and Hawley, they're pushing for tougher restrictions on AI tech. And that pressure seemed to ramp up, especially after this Chinese company, DeepSeek, unveiled a pretty impressive AI chatbot.
And let me guess, it uses the H-20.
Bingo. Reports say it uses the H-20 chip, the very one that was potentially going to be restricted.
Wow. Okay, so that's the core argument from the restriction side, right?
Yeah.
That allowing access, even to modified chips like the H-20, could end up boosting China's AI capabilities, which has, potential national security implications down the road.
Exactly. But then you have experts looking at it differently. Like Chris Miller, he's a semiconductor expert at Tufts.
Okay, what's his take?
He points out that even these modified H-20s, they're still better than a lot of the AI chips China can make themselves right now.
Ah, so China is still reliant then.
He emphasizes that, yeah. China still needs to import NVIDIA chips for its big AI projects. There's huge demand.
Miller's point really highlights how complex this is. It's not just a simple on-off switch for exports. You have to weigh the capabilities on both sides, the real-world impact of restrictions.
Right. And speaking of demand, get this. Leading Chinese tech firms apparently bought $16 billion worth of these H-20 chips.
$16 billion. In how long?
Just in the first 3 months of this year.
Yeah.
Because they were anticipating potential export controls.
Whoa. $16 billion in 3 months. That's staggering. It just screams urgency, doesn't it? How critical these chips are perceived to be over there.
Absolutely puts the policy impact in perspective.
Right.
And, it's not just the top-level decisions causing waves. There are also these reports about delays down at the Bureau of Industry and Security, the BIS.
The agency that actually handles the export licenses and controls.
Right. Apparently things like staff cuts, plus the whole effort to reorganize tech policies, including the big HAPS Act, it's all contributing to holdups in the regulatory process.
That makes sense. It shows the practical side, right? You can have a policy goal, but if the agency implementing it is stretched thin or going through changes, it slows everything down. And the HAPS Act itself, aiming to boost U.S. manufacturing, that's another big piece they're juggling.
So, okay, let's connect this dot back to everyday life. How might this affect, us?
Well, the tariff part is pretty direct, potentially.
Right.
If tariffs go up on chips coming in, or the equipment to make them, that cost could easily find its way into the price of, almost anything with a chip. Your phone, your laptop, your car, smart home stuff.
So potentially higher prices down the line.
Could be, yeah. Companies will either absorb it or pass it on. And then the AI chip part, the H-20 discussion. That's maybe more indirect, but big picture.
How so?
Well, who gets access to the most powerful AI chips? That influences how fast AI develops globally. Tighter restrictions might slow things down in some places, looser ones might speed things up, and that affects the kind of AI applications we eventually see in our daily lives.
Like smarter assistants or medical breakthroughs.
Yeah, exactly. Or better recommendations, more advanced automations. So these debates about export controls today could genuinely shape the tech we're all using, 5-10 years from now.
Okay, fascinating stuff. Let's shift gears now. Story number 2. This one's also about AI, but more about maybe how we interact with it.
Right.
It involves infinite reality. You might remember they bought Napster not long ago.
Yeah, I remember that. Big move into music.
Well, now they've bought an AI customer support startup called Touchcast. And it's a pretty hefty deal, $500 million, cash and stock.
Wow, $500 million.
Yeah, and it values infinite reality itself at $15.5 billion now. This is their biggest acquisition so far.
Okay, so what's special about Touchcast? What kind of AI are we talking about?
They call it agentic AI. Their main thing is this Mentorverse platform.
Yeah.
The idea is to create AI mentors.
Mentors?
Yeah, AI mentors that can actually have face-to-face video conversations with you, natural conversations.
Whoa, okay, so not just typing into a chatbot, like actual video interaction.
Exactly. They're aiming for something much more human-like with consistent personalities, deep knowledge. It sounds pretty futuristic, honestly.
Yeah, an AI you can have a video call with. That does feel like a step change from chatbots. So how are they planning to use this?
Well, the plan is to weave Touchcast's AI across Infinite Reality's other businesses. So for Napster.
Right, the music platform.
They're talking about using these AI agents for like immersive social listening rooms, maybe an AI DJ helping with playlists, AI managing online fan communities, even hosting music trivia games.
Huh. Okay, that could make the music experience much more interactive, I suppose.
And it's not just fun and games. For their enterprise side, the business customers, they see these AI agents being used for sales, for customer service. Imagine an AI rep that's always available, knows the product inside out, stays on brand. That could be huge for companies, big or small.
Yeah, I can see the appeal there. A consistent, knowledgeable, always-on customer service agent. That's a big promise. What's the tech behind it?
Well, it sounds pretty solid. It's built on AI models from OpenAI.
Okay, top name there.
And it runs on Microsoft Azure's cloud infrastructure. They actually have a $50 million partnership with Microsoft.
Right, so using established, powerful platforms that gives it credibility and scalability. And does it work well? Like, is it responsive?
Apparently, yeah. They say this setup dramatically cuts down the response times in AI interactions, making it feel more natural.
That's key, isn't it? That Laia can really break the illusion of talking to something intelligent.
Totally. And Touchcast is pushing the idea that this offers businesses, seamless, human-like experiences, boosts efficiency, cuts costs, all that good stuff. They mention one-click solutions for different AI tasks.
One click sounds good. Suggests ease of use. And they must have some solid tech if they're enterprise-focused. Security, patents.
Yeah, they mentioned enterprise-grade security compliance, SOC 2, and 27 patents in AI and interactive video. So it seems like they've got the tech chops.
Okay. And what are the CEO saying? Always interesting to hear their take.
John Acunto, the Infinite Reality CEO, he's really bullish on this agentic AI being like the future of how we use the web. He sees immediate benefits for their customers across music, business, everything.
So he sees it as fundamental, not just an add-on.
Seems like it. And then Ada Segal, who founded Touchcast, he talked about their mission being to sort of humanize AI, make it more emotionally engaging.
Humanize AI, it's a big goal. And Segal, he has a background in this space, right?
Yeah, serial entrepreneur, apparently. Experience in AI and communication startups, so he brings that history too.
Adds weight to it. Anyone else?
Amish Shah, co-founder at Infinite Reality, he positioned it as sort of the next logical step after getting Napster and their recent funding, just continuing their strategic growth, building this platform that blends XR, AI, immersive stuff.
Right, pulling all the pieces together. In Infinite Reality, they've been active. Buying Napster for over $200 million was a big signal.
Yeah, $207 million for Napster. And they've got backing from people like Steve Aoki, Imagine Dragons, sort of bridging tech, music, sports.
Interesting mix. So, okay, bringing this one back to everyday life, how might this Touchcast acquisition touch us?
Well, customer service is the obvious one, right? Think about calling your bank or internet provider.
Yeah, not always fun.
Agentic AI, if it works as promised, could make those interactions way better. More personalized, faster answers, maybe less frustration. Getting help from an AI that actually feels helpful.
That would be nice. A knowledgeable AI instead of a basic chatbot or waiting on hold forever.
Exactly. And beyond service, this idea of AI mentors, that could be really interesting.
How so? Like learning?
Yeah, imagine getting personalized music lessons from an AI expert, or business coaching, or help learning a language. An AI mentor in almost any field, maybe, making expertise way more accessible.
That's a cool idea. So this acquisition, it really signals a move towards a more, conversational web, where we talk with AI, not just type at it.
Yeah, seems like that's the direction. Okay, one more big story for today. This one's in the mobility space, ride hailing.
All right. Uber, Lyft?
Lyft, yeah. They've just announced a deal to buy FreeNow. That's a taxi app based in Hamburg, Germany.
FreeNow. I know them. They were owned by BMW and Mercedes-Benz, right?
That's the one. Lyft's buying them for about $137 to $200 million, somewhere in that range, in cash.
Okay, so Lyft is buying a European taxi app. That's a big step for them, isn't it? They've mostly been North America focused.
Exactly. This is their big jump into the European market. Puts them head to head with Uber, Bolt, the established players over there.
And FreeNow, they're not small potatoes in Europe, are they?
No, not at all. They operate in over 150 cities across 9 different countries: Austria, France, Germany, Greece, Ireland, Italy, Poland, Spain, the UK.
Wow. Okay. So Lyft basically buys an instant, significant European footprint with this deal.
Pretty much, yeah. And the thinking behind it seems to be, well, a couple of things.
Makes sense. What are they?
First, FreeNow apparently got its act together recently, focused on its core taxi business, started growing year on year, even hit break even. So it looks like a more solid business now.
Okay, so not buying a fixer-upper necessarily.
Right. And second, Lyft figures this merger will nearly double their total potential market size and boost their gross bookings quite a bit. So it's a clear path to growth, expanding their playground.
Double the market. Yeah, that's a big incentive. What did Lyft's CEO say? David Risher.
Yeah, Risher basically said they want to build the best mobility platform globally, and they see FreeNow as the perfect partner. He mentioned a similar local-first approach, suggesting they think the company cultures align well.
Interesting. And what about BMW and Mercedes? Why are they selling?
Their statement was pretty standard, focusing on their core business making cars, plus things like electrification, putting more AI in the cars, decarbonization efforts.
Right. So shedding a non-core mobility service to focus on the future of the car itself makes strategic sense for them too.
Seems like it. So, okay, what does this mean for users? Like if I use Lyft here or maybe travel to Europe?
Good question.
All short term. Sounds like no changes for FreeNow customers over there. Business as usual. But the long-term plan, they say, is to integrate the platform. So eventually you can maybe use your Lyft app in Europe or the FreeNow app here in North America. Seamless travel.
Oh, that would be handy. One app for ride-hailing wherever you go between those regions.
Yeah, could be a nice perk for travelers. And Risher also mentioned Lyft feels ready for this now because their service back home in North America has improved.
Oh, yeah. How so?
He talked about faster pickups, fewer cancellations, drivers earning more, and apparently strong growth up in Canada. So the message is kind of, okay, we've got our house in order here, now we can look abroad.
Right. Strengthen the core before expanding. Classic strategy. How did the market react? Lyft stock.
A little bit of a bump in pre-market trading when the news hit, like 1.7% up.
Okay, positive sign.
The stock's still down overall for the year and over the last 12 months, and analysts mostly seem to be saying hold. Kind of cautious.
Not exactly a roaring endorsement.
Though Oppenheimer did recently give them an outperform rating, suggesting maybe the stock could bounce back. But then you look at options trading, lots of put options being traded compared to calls.
The put-call ratio. High ratio suggests traders are betting on the price going down, or at least hedging against it. Caution.
Exactly. So sort of a mixed picture, initial positive reaction to the deal, but underlying caution about Lyft's overall performance and maybe the challenge of integrating and competing in Europe.
Yeah, entering a new continent, going up against Uber and Bolt. It's a big play. Buying FreeNow gives them a great starting point, an existing user base, but execution will be key.
For sure. So connecting this last dot for everyday life, the main thing is potentially more convenience for ride-hailing if you travel between North America and Europe down the line.
Right. More options, maybe eventually a smoother experience.
And it just shows, how this mobility tech space is still shaking out. Constant competition, companies looking for growth wherever they can find it, often by buying rivals or moving into new territories.
Absolutely. Consolidation and expansion are definitely ongoing themes there. It's a dynamic industry.
Well, that wraps up our three main stories for today's deep dive. We went from potential chip tariffs under Trump and that whole NVIDIA H20 situation.
The global supply chain and AI race implications there.
To infinite reality buying Touchcast, pushing this idea of agentic conversational AI.
Yeah, changing how we might interact with customer service or even more online.
And finally, Lyft making its big move into Europe by acquiring FreeNow.
Expanding the ride-hailing battleground.
Exactly. And as we talked about, these things might seem separate, but they're all part of this broader tech landscape, right? They connect to the devices we buy, the AI we interact with, even how we literally get from A to B.
It's all interwoven. Definitely. Yeah. A complex picture constantly shifting.
Well, we try to make sense of it here. And remember, we are here to help here at Snarful. So reach out on our website if you have any more questions.
Please do.
And maybe just one final thought to leave you with. With AI becoming so much more integrated, in customer service, music, potentially mentoring, how do you see these technologies changing our daily lives even more in the next few years? Something to ponder. Thanks for connecting the dots with us.
Thanks, everyone.
That's a wrap on today's top stories. Remember, tech doesn't have to be complicated, and we're here to help connect the dots. If you've got questions or want to learn more, visit us at snarful.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.